feel, how you feel, how you feel. 25 sitting on 25 mil. And by 25 sitting on 25 mil, I mean 35 sitting on a second mortgage and an upside down car payment. Nah, I'm just kidding. It ain't that bad. I'm not actually that old. Anything this week? My debit card information was stolen, if that makes you feel any better about the week that you've been having. I had a mini vacation planned out, so I was pretty stoked about getting out of town for the weekend. But on my way out, I noticed a charge of $1.25 cleared my bank account from some shitty gas station in Pasadena. For you English speakers out there, that's $125 on gas. So I called my bank, who naturally canceled my card, which left me a little in a bind with my spending money for the weekend. But lucky for me, I don't keep all my cash in one bank, so cha-ching! But that should be another episode. But yes, I enjoyed myself. It was my first completely solo trip in a good while. I got a bit of grief from my mother once she realized that I was going by myself, so I felt a little anxiety and guilt from that, but I was over it by the time I got to Kyle. The pros of taking a trip by your lonesome. You don't have to worry about someone disrespecting your time. You have the freedom to explore at your own leisure without being anchored down by some other responsibility. It's a good time to be selfish. The cons. You have no one to leave your car keys with when you go swimming. I spent a good amount of time walking, so it was great for the legs, but bad for the toe. I've been practicing being by myself for a few weeks now. I feel like it's a good exercise in the inevitable. I can tell my mother is annoyed by it. She comes into my room and I don't really engage her because I'm distracted and sometimes I just don't care. And she just tisks me and walks out in a huff. But people leave. People die. Even if you have a kid, they can die before you. They can get hit by a car tomorrow afternoon. They might get snatched up by some pervert and sold on the dark web or some shit. People can love you today and hate you tomorrow. Which is my next album title, by the way. So are you prepared for that? Being by yourself? There are people who live alone and die alone all the time. People who most others have pretty much forgotten about because it's been so long. And by the time you realize it, it's been 10 years since you've checked up on this person. Well, turns out 3 years back they died in their armchair and their body wasn't discovered for 2 weeks. That's the life of isolation. Fuck, that's the life I want. I was at Overlook Park, grungy as fuck because screw showering, and I'm staring into the lake from the center of the dam. No one on either side of me for at least a half mile, and I'm thinking, I can just live here. Imagine it. You wake up around 5:30, drink your black coffee, and take that run across the dam just as the sun comes up every morning. When you're done, you walk right to the center, do some yoga, stretch, inhale that lake water. Then you could just blow up a raft and float out in the middle of the lake before it gets too hot. I literally have dreams about these places. Being close to water, away from most people, away from the noise. A home near water is a requirement for my future. I don't care if I have to take my car and live on the beach. I promise that I'm going to make that work. There was a lot of self-reflection this weekend. I realized that until I learn not to be so stubborn, even though I'm kind of right, I won't be able to let go of that baggage and leave it behind completely. But my stubbornness, and dare I say pride, comes from dealing with someone who is equally stubborn. So mine persists. It's subsiding, but it persists. But what can I say? I'm a Taurus. Didn't you know I'm stubborn? Can't you read my horoscope, etc., etc.? Moving on. We need to be real, guys. We need to talk about getting physical, Olivia Newton-John. I know, it's the worst thing in the world. No one likes exercise. And you're probably like me, where sometimes you work out and other times you don't, but mostly you don't because you're waiting for some sort of magical inspiration to encourage you, like seeing someone else lose weight. That's the fastest way to get you on a treadmill. Well, let me let you guys in on a little secret. Motivation does not exist. What do I mean by that? It's simple. Yes, sometimes you're more inclined to want to do things that you know that you have to do. But at the base of it all, there is no intrinsic motivation to do anything. Yes, you have extrinsic factors like deadlines and good grades and whatnot. But when it comes to anything, you're just going to have to remember what Shia LaBeouf once said. Just do it. Just do it!
Do it!
Just do it! He's
do
on to
it!
something, that Shia. Anytime you put something off, procrastinate, it's because you don't have motivation to do it, even though you know that it would benefit you through X, Y, and Z. So why do you finally do things? And how can you teach yourself to be self-motivated if you have no motivation, intrinsic or otherwise? Well, you just fucking do it. And you trick yourself into believing that you find this thing enjoyable. You might actually love it, but fake it till you make it. Oh my God, I just love running through this humid 99-degree Houston weather where there's no shade and your sweat seeps through your shirt as a perfect outline of your shitty sports bra. Oh my God, it's so great. And actually, I did love, or convinced myself I loved, the feeling of my heart about to burst out of my chest, the sweat that drenched every inch of me, because besides that natural serotonin burst that you get from exercise, it's that dopamine rush that you get as a bonus. Your struggle is your reward. Listen, I never said I was a life coach. On the contrary, I believe I said I expect to fuck up a lot. I'm basically the opposite of a life coach. But I've learned with anything I've ever done that if I just don't tell myself, fucking do it already, then it won't get done. And I'll continue to have nothing to show for it. No podcast, no growth, no new music, no nothing. Just decide you're gonna do something and do it. No more maybes, no more next weeks, like right now. Seriously, take out a pen and paper, make a mental note, do whatever you gotta do. Think of something you've wanted to either begin or complete, something you've been putting off for whatever reason. This is the week that you work on it. Whatever reason you've had to not do this thing, think about how you're gonna get through it instead of ignoring it. This is gonna be good for you, I promise. If that thing is getting a little exercise into your life, then we can do this together because I need an accountability buddy for this one. For some motivation, here's Arnold Schwarzenegger talking about the feeling he gets when he works out.
The greatest feeling you can get in a gym, or the most satisfying feeling you can get in the gym, is the pump. Let's say you train your biceps. Blood is rushing into your muscles, and that's what we call the pump. Your muscles get a really tight feeling, like your skin is going to explode any minute. You know, it's really tight. It's like somebody blowing air into your muscle. It just blows up, and it feels different. It feels fantastic. It's as satisfying to me as coming is. You know, as having sex with a woman and coming. So can you believe how much I am in heaven? I'm like getting the feeling of coming in the gym. I'm getting the feeling of coming at home. I'm getting the feeling of coming backstage when I pump up, when I pose out in front of 5,000 people. I get the same feeling. So I'm coming day and night. I mean, it's terrific, right? So, you know, I'm in heaven.
Now, if that doesn't motivate you, isn't that proof alone that motivation does not exist? I'm a weakling. Ever since I last got into a fight with my ex, I told myself, man, I'm never gonna let these spaghetti arms fail me again. So I start by lifting weights, but I lose interest for days, weeks, months, sometimes years. It was never really a priority, strength building. I'm also pretty ignorant when it comes to exercise in general. About 10 years ago, I saw a picture of myself playing pool, and I was like, oh. Because up until that point, I knew that I was a little overweight, but I was comfortable in constantly comparing myself to other people. Well, it can be worse. I can look like that girl. Which is a really stupid and short-sighted mentality to have. Like, A, who the fuck am I comparing myself to other people to make myself feel better? And B, I clearly don't know anything about anything because how does someone else's bad health somehow make my own better? Stupid Amanda. Get it together, jeez. So my method of losing weight was lots of cardio and restricting my calories, which got my weight down to where I wanted it to be. So I stopped calorie counting and excessive exercise to just let myself maintain. And my weight has fluctuated a little bit since then, but I'm just over where I want to be. Lately, I've been noticing that my pants don't fit the way that they used to. And by that, I mean my thighs and my ass have made my pants a little bit snug on me, which is not bad, but I started thinking that maybe I should look into some other form of exercise. And I'm cheap. I don't want to spend money on equipment I might not use, so I had to prove my commitment to myself by using the app 7 and adding this as a habit to the other app I already use, Productive. Let me tell you why I think you need to download both these apps. You don't even need any apps, to be honest. What you need is to set a reminder and incorporate it into your daily routine. Set a reasonable schedule, something you know that you can stick to. My current one is 5:30 a.m., 8 minutes, Monday through Friday. Don't fucking laugh. 8 minutes of high-intensity interval training is A, lot for me right now, and B, just a primer to ease myself into the habit so I don't get easily discouraged. 8 minutes is just kind of the lube. So I use the app 7 because it's a good free app for strength training using your own body and maybe a chair. No weights required. It's basically a dozen exercises back-to-back for about 30 seconds each. The worst feeling is waking up and thinking, I sure don't want to exercise right now. The best feeling is hitting the start button and getting into it because that's really the hardest part. I also love swiping it off my list of habits to complete for the day. By 7 a.m., I've gotten my heart rate up and let meditation bring it back down again. So decide what you're going to do. Maybe you want to just start with a walk. You don't have to do anything crazy. Maybe it's stretching, yoga, swimming, biking, I don't care. Choose something. And even if you weren't thinking of it before, go ahead and choose something now, even if it's simple. Also, being physically inactive can be super harmful, guys, and probably will kill you. Inactivity leads to high cholesterol, which leads to heart disease. There's obesity, higher risk of colon and breast cancer, diabetes. Geez, even if you don't want to do anything, at least use your phone as a pedometer to keep track of your steps. See how many steps you average a day and see if you can beat your own record. Continue to challenge yourself. You have access to all of this information, and you can be analyzing it to better yourself. You can always push yourself a little more. I went and bought one of those fancy Bluetooth scales that measure your body fat, your muscle mass, water, protein, blah, blah, blah. But I got it so I had a frame of reference to tell if I was making any progress. Even though I had no baseline, all my numbers were pretty good, at least compared to the other people who were using my scale. Jesus fucking Christ. My weight's a little on the high side, but my muscle mass is like 79.2 pounds. Body fat percentage is around 28.5%, which is not bad, but those are the two factors that I'm most focused on keeping track of. I weigh myself daily, but I'm not paying attention to the numbers right now because I've only been keeping track for about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit less. They're not important so long as I know that I'm keeping up with my habits. Which, okay, some days I don't. Some days I don't. I had a little slump at the beginning of the month. And then once I got into it, I noticed that Mondays are also no bueno for me. But so far this month, I've done it 12 days, which is already twice as much as July, where I did 6 days. And June, that had 2. 2 lousy days. So give me a little bit of credit. Sometimes it's hard to tell myself to just do it at 5:30 in the morning, especially when I don't sleep well, which is a lot lately. I just had an idea. What if I change my alarm clock to Shia LaBeouf screaming at me to just do it already? Fucking hey, Amanda, you're a genius.
Make your dreams come true. Just do it.
So what have we learned? Motivation is a myth. Scheduling in time to do shit is step 1. Just doing it is step 2. Being inactive can kill you. This is not a joke. If your favorite thing is to lie around and do nothing, I feel you. I feel you. One of mine used to be binge watching bullshit on Netflix. But if you absolutely must do it, why not set up an iPad in front of the treadmill? Or maybe use a run to listen to a new podcast or book on tape. Book on tape. I think I just showed my age. Listen, sometimes you just have to make sacrifices. Like Quavo said, why can't y'all recognize that we all came from sacrifice? Most things you accomplish in life don't just happen by accident. Sometimes you have to sacrifice time, energy. You have to make choices. You have to let things go. This applies to every part of your life. If you're short on money for some reason, what are you going to do? You're either going to cut expenses or you're going to hustle. But you're going to make it work somehow because it needs to be done. Same with pushing yourself to be just a little bit more active. Set some goals and stick to them. Hold yourself accountable. If need be, give yourself some extrinsic motivation. Tell yourself, if I commit to X, I get to do Y. Set an attainable goal and reward yourself. Alright, am I done babying you yet? Quick wrap up. I fell off a little bit on my yoga, but I made up for it by doing a 2-week trial of Elevate, which is not really the same as yoga, but it's still a good app to get some of those mental acrobatics out of the way. Admitting my faults and my shortcomings out loud is good because I have to hold myself accountable eventually. I don't want to be a broken record stating the same intentions week after week after week after week. Isn't that why I'm doing this thing in the first place? Isn't this why I'm doing this project? So we'll see what happens next week. And in the meantime, go set yourself some goals and do shit this week. Do shit this week. Do something. It'll be fun.
If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up. Do it! Just do it! Yes, you can! Just do it!